Good evening, East Goshen. I hope you had a great Sunday and that you were able to worship the Lord today. Take some time to rest. Many of you were able to join us this morning for service, whether that was online or in person, and we're grateful that you choose to worship with us every Sunday. Thank you also for following along with these Advent reflections. I know that they have been a blessing to me. I hope they've been a blessing to you as well, just to be able to go through the book of Luke together and to study the person and work of Jesus. I apologize for not having a video up yesterday. We had a funeral for a family member and calling hours, and by the time we got through the day, there was just nothing left in the tank. So we decided not to film a video. We decided to wait and double up today. And so today, December 20th, we're going to focus on Luke chapters 19 and 20. And we're actually going to draw a through line between the two chapters of a theme that I think is important in this book and in the story of the Bible in general. So Luke chapter 19, Jesus is heading to Jerusalem. He knows that he has to die. He's predicted it and told his disciples a couple of times already. And so Jesus is heading to Jerusalem. He's on his way. Along the way, he's still providing healing, restoration, and teaching. And so he meets Zacchaeus, the tax collector. The disciples go and find him a colt to ride on so that he can head up to Jerusalem. Now, he has to head up to Jerusalem. The city sits on the top of the hills in that area. It was at one of the highest elevations, so it had a good vantage point from the top of the city. Actually, the Temple Mount would have been the very highest place in the city, and so everything would have been encircling that around the temple. But Jesus has to head up to Jerusalem. He can see the city in the distance. So Luke chapter 19, we're going to focus on verses 41 and 42, which read, "As he approached Jerusalem and saw the city, he wept over it and said, 'If you, even you, had only known on this day what would bring you peace, but now it is hidden from your eyes.'" Jesus sees the city in the distance, and he knows that Israel has rejected him time and time again. They reject the source of their peace. We've probably talked about this in our Advent series on Sunday mornings, but I don't know if we've mentioned it here, but peace in the biblical understanding is not just a sense of comfort. It is wholeness and restoration as we rest in the presence of God. And so Jesus sees Jerusalem on the hill and weeps over it because he knows the Israelites have missed the source of peace, the source of wholeness and restoration. They love the healings, they love the miracles, but they've missed what brings them peace ultimately, and that is the person and work of Jesus. And so he has compassion on the city. He weeps over them, and he desires that they might know what will bring true peace. And isn't that the case for so many people in our lives, that they don't know what will truly bring them peace? And that's the kind of compassion Jesus models for us, that we ought to have our hearts broken because people don't know the truth of the gospel and where they can find wholeness and restoration. So Jesus is ascending the hills to Jerusalem on this colt, and we continue through into chapter 20. The Pharisees challenge him. He tells another parable about talents. And then he's hit with a strange question. The Pharisees send spies to antagonize Jesus and to provoke him into saying something he might regret, something they can catch him in order to bring charges against him, or at least to discredit him in public. And Jesus' question about paying taxes to Caesar, of all the things, Jesus' question on how the Israelites should pay taxes. And you've probably heard this verse, Luke 20, verse 25. Jesus responds and says, "Then give back to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's." Now, this might be a strange verse to connect with Luke 19 and talking about compassion that we should have for people. But Jesus is making a point here about whose image is born on a coin and whose image is born on people. A Roman coin would have included the face and likeness of the current emperor. The emperor's face would have been all over the money. And so when Jesus says, look at the coin, whose image is on it? It's Caesar's. That's who you should give the money back to because it belongs to him. And Jesus is making the point that people are image bearers of God. They have been created inherently with the divine image imprinted upon them. And so when Jesus says, give Caesar his money because it's his, it has his image on it, but give God what is his as well, and that is people. Offer up to God the people that you know. Offer up to God the people whose image is that of the likeness of God. And they don't even know it. That's connecting back to Luke chapter 19. We ought to have compassion on the people in our lives who bear the image of God. They are inherently valuable and they are created in the likeness of the divine. And yet they don't know the source of peace. They bear the image of God, but they don't recognize him when he's right in front of them. So, in our reflection for today, ask yourself, who are the people in my life that I ought to have compassion on? How is the Lord breaking my heart for the people who don't know the source of peace? And how can I value and cherish them so that they know they are image bearers of God and they know that he is the only one that can fulfill every need for comfort and peace and wholeness? So, think through that, pray through that this evening or whenever you're watching the video if you follow along the next morning. And thank you for joining us for Luke chapter 20. Only a few more days till we finish out the gospel. We will see you tomorrow for Luke chapter 21. Have a great rest of your night.